Lateral leg lifts are really simple exercise. You're just lifting your leg up and down, but the way you do it, the nuance with how you connect to the muscles that you're working can make a big impact on how they're translated into the body and into other bigger motions. You might want to do this for better stability and single-legged balance. If you tend to be someone who is dominant more towards the inner thighs, where perhaps when you're squatting or even just standing, there's more of this angle in through the leg bones, that might also pull down into a little more roll in through the inner side of the foot. So any of those reasons, or just generally connecting to the hips in a different way, you can take these side lying leg lifts. Nice to have a little prop underneath the head. I have a yoga block here, but a pillow works great. Right, so simple side lying, the setup already here, you want to be cognizant of where there may be some shifts in the torso, shifts in the pelvis. We're trying to have the rib cage pretty stacked, the hips pretty stacked, and it can be helpful to have the feet slightly forward of the body instead of one straight line for a bit more stability. Right, so really simple. More grounded through the palm, the front hand is going to just be more stable. You'll just lift the leg. Now, oftentimes if we're just thinking of lifting and lowering the leg, the toes will point upwards. But here we're going to either think neutral or maybe even a slight spiral internal rotation through the hip. Now, as I'm moving to internal rotation or maybe just more of a neutral position of the hip, I want to be mindful of the pelvis shifting forward in space. I really want to think of a neutral pelvis as well. So I like to think of my sits bone, the back of the hip, reaching all the way to the back of the heel, or conversely thinking of the heel zipping up the back of the leg to the sits bone. So the hamstring, the back of the leg is online, and that's creating space in the front of the hip. Right, so even just here, holding the leg and fine-tuning, playing around with some of those angles in the rotation of the hip and the orientation of the pelvis. There's a lot of work that's happening here, and if somewhere feels a little foreign, it feels a little difficult to be with, probably useful to stay with that for a while, or to keep up with that. Right, so you can hold in just one place, or you can lift and lower. And especially if you're lifting and lowering, you want to be mindful of, when do I go back into those patterns that are habitual, and how can I invite in a little bit more variation, nuance in experience, right? So all you're doing is lifting and lowering, doing really reps till the point of fatigue on one side and the other. The more you slow down your motion, particularly with the intention of resistance, like you're moving through something viscous, like you're moving through honey, or you're pushing into something and squeezing into something else, having that sense of internal resistance with slower motion is going to add more work for the hip, as will more reps, and as will just sustaining the motion in a place that feels difficult. As you're lifting and lowering the leg, it's just good to be mindful of, is the torso moving around to try to stabilize the lower body or compensate for a lack of stability in the lower body. So it's just an awareness exercise, getting the movement and the sensation, the effort into a different place in your hip than perhaps you're used to.